Welcome to Coast View, the show that every single day celebrates the men and women who are making coastal Mississippi such an amazing place to live, work, and play. Hey, I hope you're having a great Monday. I was thinking as I was preparing for the show today that as we look back on last week, we've just had a string of amazing shows. It's been incredible. And if you miss a show, I want to remind you that you can go to the Facebook's SuperTalk Gulf Coast Facebook page, or you can go to the Coast View Facebook page. You can go to YouTube, the SuperTalk Mississippi YouTube page. You can go to your favorite podcast and just do a search for Coast View, and it will pop up, and you'll be able to listen to the show that way. But there have been a string of incredible shows, including my conversation with Laurie Jackson, who's an independent missionary in Ukraine. We had an entire show last week with her and two of her friends who are Ukrainians, who are all working to help families and to help families get across. Of course, they have to go without their husbands and any of their boys that are more than 16 years of age. And they're also working to get supplies to what they refer to as the defenders, and they're taking their lives in their hands and doing it in the name of a Christian effort, and they believe it's their calling to be able to help. And if you have not seen that conversation, I really encourage you to go take a look at it at the SuperTalk Gulf Coast Facebook page. It is very inspiring what's happening, and the people of Ukraine, the more you get to know them, it will remind you of us. They are us. And man, is it a small world, and God, do I pray for them to continue to be safe. So anyway, we're going to shift gears. I had this opportunity recently. I have a really good friendship with Luann Pappas, who's the president and CEO of the Scarlet Pearl. And she had posted that they win awards a lot, advertising awards, marketing awards, all kinds of different stuff in different domains over the years. Had a lot of success. Luann has a really good understanding of what her brand is, and she's really focused on creating these dynamic partnerships with people to push that brand forward. Well, the most recent awards that they got, I started kind of diving into it a little bit, and I came across this company I'd not heard of before called Creative Elements Productions. And I got interested in who runs this company called Creative Elements Productions. And I discovered Denise Baumann. And I reached out to Denise and said, why don't you come on the show? I'd love to tell your story, because her company's different. And she's this kind of quiet entrepreneur that's been doing all this cool work. She's branched out and now has a marketing company in addition to Creative Elements Productions. But I just wanted to have Denise on the show and tell more about her interesting, what I call a whimsical company. Maybe you'll understand more about why I say that in just a second. But without any further ado, let me welcome Coast entrepreneur Denise Baumann to Coast View. How you doing, Denise? I said Dennis. I meant Denise.
That brings me back to second grade. They used to say it, Denise, the substitute teacher.
Of course they did. So look, you're a booking agent, a creative director, a casino event consultant, live production, costuming, wigs. You do makeup. Now you're into video production. You do casting. You do it all. And instead, okay, here's what I want you to do. At a very high level, if you were telling someone what you do now, how do you say it? And then what we're going to do, once you say that, we're going to take a step back. I'm going to start from the beginning. How did you begin to get into this to begin with? And let's tell your story. So if you were telling someone in an elevator what it is you do, how do you describe it?
So this is what I've learned to say. It's not what hats do I wear, it's what hats don't I wear is like kind of easier. It's all in the scope of entertainment. And if you think of marketing, all of it is the razzle dazzle. So I help make the razzle dazzle happen is pretty much the short version of it.
Yeah. So what do you, okay. So where did you start? Talk to me about your evolution.
Well, if you ask my mother, I came out of her stomach ready to rock and roll, covered in glitter and hair color. And most people think I was born with tattoos, but that's not true, obviously. I don't know. I really, truly, if you ask anyone who knew me as a child, I was definitely born exactly who I am, colorful, boisterous. I was supposed to do that. And I'd say, if I pinpoint my professional start, I was in local theater stuff with David Delk, Chuck White at Center Stage as a child, Gulfport Little Theater. But for me, I was always more interested in the back. So I would go to the thrift store and I would get costumes and dress all the kids, and I'd get bad wigs and make them look a little bit better. And then I'd say the first start, I was 18, and Biloxi Grand Theater was still a thing. Remember, it was across the street.
Yeah.
The beach.
Yes.
Starlight Express, the Andrew Lloyd Webber show. It came out of retirement from 1984, and they called local theaters and they said, do you have anyone who likes to do costuming or can work on costuming? And they're like, oh, we have a girl named Denise Baumann. Well, honey, all you had to do was get me backstage in a professional theater, and it was pretty much on. That was it. I felt home.
So what was it, just through lots of trial and error and experience that you sort of begin to hone your craft and then added dimensions as you go? Talk to me about that evolution.
You hit the nail on the head. It was pretty much, I'll figure it out. That's one of my favorite phrases. Even my little dancers and people that work for me, I'm like, we'll figure it out. I just feel like if I didn't know something, I would just figure it out. I'd started heavily in costuming, hair and makeup for sure. And then I was in the theater elements, so I was way more heavy on everything. So then when I decided, people pay for makeup, it was almost more of a challenge for me to learn how to do more neutral styles, you know what I mean? Because I just really was like immersed in the lights, camera, action. And then, then I started really getting into the business side. I'm like, wait, I like that guy in that office, that guy that nobody sees, that producer. I want to be that person. And I probably knew that by age 20, and I'm 37 now.
Yeah. What's interesting, what happened is for a good while, actually, more than 9 years, you did this casino booking agent thing. And I guess people, since I would guess there's not a lot of people that brought the unique skills you brought to the table back in those days, that you started to develop sort of a word of mouth reputation that if you have something unique you want to do, you got to call Denise. Is that sort of what happened?
Absolutely. So to transfer back, out of the Biloxi Grand Theater, I basically called a guy named George Roth. And look, this is how I figured out how to work for Cirque du Soleil and shows at the Beau Rivage. I got on the internet and I looked up the show and I looked up head of wardrobe in their online directory, and I just figured it out. I bypassed all, HR applications, and a guy answered and his name was George Roth. And I was like, hey, I'm awesome. You need to hire me. I can do costumes. And he's like, do you have a life? And I said, no. And he said, perfect. Come on in. And then I've pretty much, that was the break into I'd say the bigger show. I did do Cats. I did all that stuff. And I'd say working with Anthony Gibson, George Roth, a guy named Terry Burden, Ramon Ruiz, all these old school Beau Rivage theater people really did teach me a lot. And they don't even realize probably how much they taught me besides the craft, the business side, watching people manage crews and stuff like that. And I think that's a really important piece of the puzzle of Denise, because a lot of shaping was backstage and entertainment. Now, when we shoot a commercial, I know how to talk to my camera guy. I know how to talk to my lighting guy. I know how to talk to my PA, you know what I mean? So all those lessons were absorbed like a sponge as much as I could. I always pay attention.
Well, it's interesting. It's so interesting that you had, I always say you started with the spirit of an entrepreneur. So not only did you have sort of this creative side to you that is evolved to where you are today, and it certainly gave you your wonderful beginning in the business, but you had a sense early on that you're not going to be able to evolve completely if you don't really master the business side of this, how to deal with people, how to understand the financial ramification, how to charge for something, how to, and you know what, I don't care what kind of business you're in. in. It could be this show. It could be what you do. The relationships that you develop along the way that are always rooted in trust and faith in one another and all that, that's the key to success. And then you got to add all these other dimensions. But if you don't have the ability to communicate and develop relationships and bring a quality product, in your case, a service or ideas or whatever it might be that you're going to bring, that's the key. And that you knew early on that you had to sort of gain those extra dimensions. That's pretty cool that you saw that.
Yeah, the only thing I can think of where maybe that came from is my mom is from a family of 10, and I'd say about 8 of the 10 people are entrepreneurs. They're business owners. They've went from nothing. My grandma was a kids, and all are 6-figure to millionaires, and all out of hard work. You know what I mean? So my family has truly inspired me as well on business, for sure.
Why don't we do this? We're going to continue the conversation at the other side as we continue to hear this cool story of this company called Creative Elements Productions and Denise Baumann's story. It's kind of I love these kind of conversations because they're different and they're unique and they're entrepreneurial, and it's inspiring. We'll see you on the other side. Welcome back to Coast View. I'm having a terrific conversation with my friend Denise Baumann, who owns a company called Creative Elements Productions. She also has a marketing company. And Denise, I couldn't help but think about this while you were telling the story of the way you engaged these incredibly creative people that were involved in various productions in the casino industry. That in the early days of the casino industry, I remember meeting with one of the leaders. And it was a guy who just come to town, a new general manager for one of the casinos, and we were involved in the United Way campaign, and we are going to have a big kickoff, and we were going down this checklist, and I said, you know, we got to balloons, and I was the leader of this particular effort, you know, as a volunteer. And he said, I said, well, yeah, we got balloons, and I just put a check, and it was Tim Hinckley at the time who was president of the Isle of Capri, and Tim said, wait, don't go past that. How many balloons do you have? I said, I think probably 200 or 300. He said, no, Ricky, we're going to do 2,000 or 3,000. And It was at that moment that it hit me that these people who are coming in from the outside, they've been exposed to so much bigger and so much more significant productions. And it was at that moment that I realized that the people they're transplanting into coastal Mississippi will kind of change the way we think from now on. And you really kind of tapped into that, didn't you?
I feel like I did. I feel like one thing that I was thinking too on the break when you were talking about entrepreneurship, I think I was born a natural salesperson without even noticing. It only got brought to my attention about 10 years ago that when I really am into something and I'm really into my product and my business and everything I sell. So when I talk to you about it, it's very truthful. It's very honest. I'm excited about it. And what I was going to say was, I think, I think that helps me talk to people. I kind of just got distracted on say your question again? I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, that's okay. You were just saying that as an entrepreneur, you understood that communication and the ability to talk to other people was going to be the key to your success.
Yeah. It's just, people, you got to remember too, when you do entertainment, or even if you're pitching a company, let us run your social media or something for my marketing company, you got to realize that some people can't visualize, where I can look at a blank wall and think of exactly what kind of artwork I want there, how it would be set. Same when I look at a stage, same when I look at a website, a logo design, all that. So sometimes you have to really be descriptive and creative when picture for your client, or describing what you're selling. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right. I mean, so for example, the Telly Awards recently that the Scarlet Pearl won as a part of their collaboration with you. Tell me a little bit about that.
So the ones we recently did were the American Advertising Federation Awards, and this would be. We won for 2 commercials. One was a vaccine campaign, and one was for their VIP partner. I actually have two amazing cameramen that worked on one, Foad Zaid. He worked on the Emerald Room, and Chaz Singleton, he did the vaccine commercial. And the same thing, these guys are masters of their equipment and their camera. But when I'm on site with them as like the producer or creative director, I'm looking at little details and things to get them straight, to make their job easier. So that's how come I think, and of course, Scarlet Pearl is so beautiful.
Yeah.
That's why we're popping these awards, because we have a beautiful subject, we have knowledgeable crew, and then you've got me, the fairy godmother, just walking around with my wand, making sure we've got the final touches.
Hey, so let me ask you this. If you were talking to, you're talking to another young person who is trying to decide, do they want to go into business for themselves? I can see, because you bring creativity, but you bring the need to have the freedom. You don't want to you need to control your own destiny. That's really important to you. That's very clear. What advice would you have to a young entrepreneur that's thinking about doing it on their own?
Well, okay, so a few things. The first thing I would say is, don't be scared. Say what you mean and do what you say. For me, I'd say it goes back to the casino world of I've got to deliver good products. Like I'm different. I can't just do an okay job at my job. I have to deliver excellent quality, because that is why I've gotten called back to some of these casinos for 18 years. You know what I mean? The other thing too is prepared for downfalls. I'm very open about my story recently with COVID. There was no entertainment. There was no production. My company lost 6 figures. I got pregnant at age 35. So, honey, I've been here and went right down here, and now right back up. And I'm, you got to have tough skin would be the final thing I say, to be in business for yourself.
As Nietzsche said, that which does not kill me makes me stronger. And that's true in business. You have to be willing. You have to be able to overcome the difficult times. It's not always peaches and cream, but there's something about being in those tough moments that make you better, that make you stronger, that make you more resilient, that make you able to bounce back more next time. It makes you focus more on things like diversifying your revenue stream, so your revenue stream's not coming from one place. You want to try to build segments of your business that if another side is maybe not doing so well, that this one actually is helping bridge the gap. That's important, isn't it?
Yeah, and if you don't mind me saying, I'd say a word I use is COVID brought my time, losing that money that I worked so hard for. It brought ingenuity. And my ingenuity was like, here's pregnant Denise, but I'm not good at sitting around. So guess what I did? I watched so much and paid thousands of dollars for marketing courses, business, finance, just to expand what I've already learned when I went to school and college. I also watched tons of tax law. So really, it made me a better business person, because I had the time to things I didn't even know, you know what I mean? And I did all the marketing. It's kind of my other company, Creative Elements Consulting, Branding and Marketing. It kind of was already under Creative Elements Productions, but that really propelled me to say, no, go ahead and do this, because if there's no live shows, if there's no concerts, no movies that I can work on, I can at least make all these COVID commercials. I can make these Pfizer commercials. I can make these product commercials. So really, it just amplified what I was already doing, but a light bulb went off one day. I'm like, oh, time to get to work. And then now we're here, and they're both going strong. I'm about to shoot a steakhouse commercial for Scarlet Pearl. I'm going to the Empire Fights in New Orleans. We're shooting some boxing commercials down there. The Nicos, Jordan Nico, all of them. We work with all their restaurants for food photography, videos, social handling. And I want to say too, Jordan did a great job on your segment. And I love that me and him are the same spirit. I wrote him one day and said, I just love that we have a group of 30-something entrepreneurs bringing some cool new stuff to the coast. Like, I love that. I truly love that. And even just you having a red hair tattooed girl on your show, I love that. We need that. That's real life. You know what I mean?
Well, listen, I think it's cool that you're redheaded and tattooed. But what I love is your spirit. And that came through in what I investigated about you when I said, I'm always looking for people that are behind the scenes that maybe we don't know about. I mean, you're certainly a type A personality and you're playing well in the space that you play in, but generally I didn't know who you were. And I've had over 600 conversations and was former publisher of the Sun Herald. I love meeting new people. I love telling stories like yours. And you're right about Jordan Nico. What he has done, what his brother has done, Field and their family has done for coastal Mississippi is immeasurable. And it's one thing to have the resources, but it's another thing to be able to have the entrepreneurial spirit that goes with it, and the vision and the tenacity. I mean, Jordan's tenacity is incredibly inspiring. And I mean, truthfully, any successful entrepreneur that we might sit down and talk to, they're going to have a story, because if success goes with the description of whatever their entrepreneurial effort is all around, then there's got to be something about them that is attractive, that's inspiring, that people can learn from. And I certainly see that in you as well. What I love is when you love what you're doing and you really have honed your craft, it's hard not to succeed. There's something that is contagious about the enthusiasm that you bring to the topic. And I felt that way about anything that I was ever involved with. And in fact, the moment I felt like I wasn't loving it anymore, that's when I decided to retire. But anyway, we got less than a minute left. Denise, I'll give you the opportunity to have the final word.
I just wanted to say real quick, something you mentioned, like Field. I love Field as well. When we go to his restaurants, we're shooting food. And it's like, I'm not even in the restaurant business, but I'm so excited to help showcase what they've got. And I want to say, when you go back to the question of what advice would you give young entrepreneurs, is you got to truly love what you will do, and then the money will follow. You can't think about money. You've got to think about putting out good product, putting your heart in it, because you got to humanity and your mark on your people, and I want everyone to walk away and say, I love doing business with her. She's awesome, and she makes my company look even better, and that's my goal.
Denise, it's been a pleasure to meet you. It really has been. This has been Denise Baumann from Creative Elements Productions, and when we come back, we'll be having a conversation with Reverend John Whitfield. We'll see you after this break.